point of view. Today in the classroom we are going to discuss about the marginalized groups. So before I start teaching about the marginalized groups, I want you all to make a note on National Policy on Education 1986. Before priorly I have given notes about National Policy on Education 1986. Few of the points I have given, but today these points are especially for equality in education with special reference to gender and marginalized groups. So there are only 4 or 5 points I want you all to write down. Whenever there is a question asked especially about equality in education, you are going to write these points. So I am clear that everybody, I was waiting for everybody to come. I hope everybody are there. Is Usha in the group, ma? Because yesterday I just read about the message of Usha. I felt very sorry for her. Can anybody give me Usha's number? After the class, I want, in the social group, you can put me. Nitesh, if it is possible, just forward me Usha's number, Nitesh.
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. So let us start the class, ma'am. Just make a note. This is very important. This is only for National Education Policy 1986, especially for equality in education. Special regards to gender and marginalized groups. Just make a note. This is not given in your textbook. These 4 points are very important because it only speaks about the gender disparities and marginalized groups. Write down the national policy. The new education policy, or it is called as NPE, National Policy on Education 1986. The new education policy or the National Policy on Education 1986 lays special emphasis on removing disparities and equalizing educational opportunity. Full stop. Continue writing. Till full stop, I am again repeating, we are speaking about the new education policy or National Policy on Education 1986. Lays special emphasis on removing disparities and equalizing educational opportunity. Continue writing. To promote equality, it will be necessary to provide opportunity to all, not only in access, but also in the conditions for success. So write down under these, what are the major recommendations the NPE in 1986 have given? You are going to write down that one. Write down the first point. Under the paragraph what you have written, especially about new education policy or National Policy on Education 1986, both are the same. So write down, and this was the year it is called as a radical reconstruction of whole education system. So write down the first point. Major emphasis will be laid on women's participation, major emphasis will be laid on women's participation in vocational, technical, and professional education at different levels. I'm repeating the point or the sentence again. Major emphasis will be laid on women's participation in vocational, technical and professional education at different levels. So yesterday's class I already told you about the Delhi government introducing a program or an app called STEM. It is especially to emphasize women education in the field of technology. So the full form or the abbreviation of STEM. So under these points, if you're writing an examination point of view, you can just mention so and so. The Delhi government has introduced a new app called a STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics, putting more emphasis on STEM. So this point is when you write in an examination point of view, you can mention that. So that was the first point. Now coming to the second point, write down. Students, is my voice clear, ma? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Write down the second point. Numerous incentives. Incentives is giving some funding, a stipend kind of thing. So numerous incentives, INCENTIVES, numerous incentives, helps, benefits, facilities will be provided to SC and ST population. Provided to SC and ST population. You all know what is SC and ST. SC is scheduled caste and ST is scheduled tribe. So provided to SC and ST population to equalize them with other developed communities. I'm again repeating the second point, ma. Numerous incentives, helps, benefits, facilities will be provided to SCs and ST population to equalize them with other developed communities. And coming to the third point, people of educational backward, people of educational backward areas, like rural areas, hill tracts, hill tracts, and desert areas, hill tracts and desert areas will be given adequate institutional and infrastructural facilities. Will be given adequate institutional and infrastructural facilities. I'm again coming up with the point. I'm again repeating the third point. People of educational backward areas like rural areas, hill tracts and desert areas will be given adequate institutional and infrastructural facilities according to NPE 1986. Now coming to the fourth point. Minority community will be allowed to set up and administer their own educational institutions. I'm again coming up with the fourth point. I'm going to repeat the fourth point again. Minority community will be allowed to set up and administer their own educational institutions. This is according to NPE 1986. Now coming to the last and final point number 5, or fifth recommendation recommended by new education policy. Education for children with special needs. Education for children with special needs. Education for children with special needs or disabled children should be integrated. We are speaking about National Policy on Education and NPE 1986, because few of them have joined just now. I'm just giving you all a clarity. This is a class, especially we are speaking about equality in education with special reference to gender as well as marginalized group, and what National Policy on Education has recommended especially for these kind of education systems. So we are discussing about that one. The fifth point, I'm repeating it again. Education for education with special needs, children with special needs and disabled children should be integrated with the general community. Should be integrated with the general community. As equal partner to prepare them to prepare them for normal growth, equal partner, to prepare them for normal growth, normal growth and development, normal growth and development, normal growth and development, and to enable them, and to enable them, and to enable them to face, and to enable them to face life, to face life with courage and confidence. Enable them to face life with courage and confidence. So Swati Naik and Lavanya, you have just logged in, ma. I have given few points about NPE regarding the gender disparities and also the marginalized groups. You can take notes from anybody in the group, because these points are more than enough if you write down, ma. Yes, anybody has any doubts, you can ask me, ma. As of now, I gave you 5 points which are very important. So the last point, I'm repeating it again. Education for children with special need and disabled children should be integrated with the general community as equal partner to prepare them for normal growth and prepare them for normal growth and development, and enable them to face life with courage and confidence. So these 5 are the recommendations given by National Policy on Education. So yesterday we were speaking about the gender disparities. Today we are going to discuss about the marginalized group. So the statement, one of the great educationists has once said like this, saying that education is neither a privilege nor a favor, but a basic human right to which all are entitled. So the fundamental right itself says that the right to education and equality in the field of education system. So a great educationist said like that, saying that it is neither a privilege nor a favor, but a basic human right. So we being all human beings, it is must and should, and we all have this fundamental right stating that education is meant for everybody. So irrespective of their, what we say is irrespective of their creed, color, caste and everything. Now speaking about the marginalized groups. Now, who are marginalized groups and who are called as marginalized groups, we'll just see. According to the Cambridge University Dictionary, what is the true meaning of marginalization is nothing but it is act of treating someone or something as if they are not important. So, according to the dictionary, according to the Cambridge University Dictionary, the true meaning of marginalization is nothing but the act of treating someone or something as if they are not important. So these kind of people are called as marginalized group. So now speaking about who are marginalized group in the Indian society, these people who are called as marginalized groups are scheduled tribe, scheduled caste, BCs, minorities, girls, and also children with special need or disabled children. So these all come under marginalized group. So there are many policies and programs implemented by various governments from so many years after the, for example, the first commission, which is Educational Commission, which came in 1964 itself, after our independence, that is after 1952 or 54 or before that. So all the commissions gave special reference to marginalized groups. But even though still we are being an illiterate, many of the marginalized group are not getting equal literacy. For example, overall percentage of literacy rate when we speak about SCs and STs, it is only 20% of SCs and 16% of STs. When compared to the others, there are about 45% percentage of literacy rate. When there was a survey done, or according to the census of India, till now or till today, there is no access to SCs and STs. Even though there are many recommendations made by the government, there are no access, less access given to these kind of people, and that is the reason, according to the census, overall percentage of literacy rate, when we compare SCs and STs with the others, SCs have only 22% and STs have, that is scheduled tribes, have only 16% of literacy rate when compared to the others. Others are the non-marginalized groups. For example, 45% of literacy rate is given to them. And coming especially to the girl child education, women literacy, SC is only 10% and ST is only 8%, and rest of all are 30%. Even here also there is lot of gender disparities even in the marginalized group. So when we see all these percentages, or when we see all these census, what we come to conclusion saying that even after n recommendations made by the government, n policies given by the government, n programs conducted by the government, equal access is not given to the marginalized group. So now coming back to the class, I already told you marginalization is nothing but process of making a group or a class of people less important. That is, even though the government is giving more importance, the society is not giving access to them. In the early days, when we speak about 300 or 400 years back, they were not allowed to enter into any sort of, for example, the religious places, example, even the richer, the higher class society were not allowing the lower class society to enter into their houses. You all would be knowing this was the status in the this was the status in Indian history when we speak about that. But later on it has increased. But even though still in the increased, for example, modern society, even in the cosmopolitan cities, many of the cities, still there is lack of interaction between this marginalized group. So today in the classroom, we will be discussing about what is the need for quality education and equality in education. I already told you the difference between equality and equity. Equality is giving general, for example, general information to everybody, equal access. But equity is giving necessary, that is what is needed, giving help to the needed people. So putting that in mind, equity in education should be given. So marginalized groups, I told you, SCs and STs and BCs. So there are many people who are still under. Yesterday when I was speaking, according to the UNICEF, I told you there are about, UNICEF is United Nations Children Funding, there are about 3 lakh change people are still on the streets in the metropolitan cities. Not that generally, only in place like Delhi, there are about 1 lakh street children. They don't even know what is A, they don't even know what is B. So these people all come under marginalized group. There are no proper access to education, no proper access to school. Even after Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, SSA, RMSA and RUSA. So these all are the programs implemented by the government. Only thing is to give free and compulsory education to all the children below the age of 14. So we cannot say it is the fault of the government. We cannot say it is the fault of the family. We cannot say it would be the fault of the school. We cannot say it would be the fault of the child himself only, because in few situations what happens is, when you admit any child or when you admit any girl or a boy who is a street kid, when you go and take admission for them in the government schools, children themselves doesn't want to get educated. Because I have seen many of the students, when they ask their parents, why are you not sending your children to the school? Immediately the child herself or himself, what they say is, we are not interested to go to schools. So there are many barriers, or there are many things which are becoming an obstacle for these marginalized groups not to be educated. So today in the classroom we are speaking about marginalized groups, about SCs and STs, BCs and especially disabled children. Now coming back to the class, there are a few of the educational progresses. For example, according to the Act 26(1) of Indian Constitution, which clearly says the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it has mentioned that education is a fundamental right, and on any grounds, that is whether they're about caste, color, creed, race, etc., can anybody be executed from exercising this right. So this right is given for everybody, and it is a right for everybody to accept it. As I already mentioned in the previous classes, there are special reservations given in one of the biggest international schools also. For example, we have Hyderabad Public School, and we also have Secunderabad Public School, where much of reservation has been given to them, but they don't even know. About 20 to 25% reservation in the private schools are also given for especially SCs and STs children. That is whether it is a private institution or whether it is a government aided private institution, it is must and should, according to the Article Right to Education Act 2009, everybody has the chance to educate themselves, irrespective of all sorts of things which I have already told you. But nobody knows about that. Who are going to, for example, when we were speaking about Right to Education Act 2009, it clearly states that 25% of reservation in all the private schools should be given to SCs and STs and BC students, and those fundings are given by central government as well as the state government. But nobody knows about that. We only know is the people who cannot afford to enter into private schools are joined into government schools. But for many of them, doesn't even know that even private schools are supposed to take these marginalized group children and give them proper education, which will be funded by the central government itself. So 25% of reservations are given in private schools also. So, but many of them doesn't know this. So that is what I'm saying, it would be many of the barriers which are not encouraging these kind of children to get into education. So it clearly states, Article 26(1) of Indian Constitution clearly says that it is a universal declaration of human right. It is a human right. Now, coming to the why, okay, we are speaking about marginalized group educating themselves. What is the reason for the society to be educated is only because of the socio-economic status and development of the nation, development of the society depends upon the education of all the people in the society. Now, what are the objectives of equalization? Especially for education, that is given in your textbook. Now you can go through those points, and also what steps to be taken as a teacher. What steps will you take to encourage marginalized group children into your classroom or into your schools? You can write it on your own. Example, when I was reading so many articles, I came to know there are some schools which call them by their caste. For example, all the SC students get up, all the SC students stand up, okay, give the record of SC student. They don't even they're not called by their names, but they are called by their groups. So that should be that should be removed. That is, use of caste name or words while calling roll calls or naming children should be avoided. The basic thing, when there is an application question given to you all, if you are a teacher and you see that there is a lot of marginalization going on in a classroom, or if there are SCs and SC students into your classroom, what kind of measures will you take? So you can see what kind of measures are given. That is, you have to give equal opportunity, no calling them by their category or no calling them by their name, or no segregation, upper class and lower class, no segregation of such thing in the classroom should be allowed. Because as a teacher, why these all have been explained to you, why these things are put into your curriculum, only thing is you are the nation builders, and there are about 50 to 60 students in one classroom who come from different areas, different religion, different caste, different everything, different race. Everybody comes together and sit in front of you for 45 minutes or the whole day. So you as a teacher, what kind of measures you take, you can write it on your own. What measures given in your textbook, it's fine and equal. Now, equal provision given to the disabled children. Now, who are disabled children or who are children with special needs? Those are imparity. That is, who cannot hear or who cannot speak, visual and audio imparity, and also disabled children, whether it is physically or mentally disabled children or handicapped. A few of them won't have their leg, a few of them won't have their hands. So these all come under provision for disabled children. Now these are called as children with special need, or these are called as disabled children. Now, in the previous class, inclusive education is all about that. You have a paper called Inclusive Education, where it clearly states that education facilities has to be given to these kind of children also. So in the previous class, when I was discussing about inclusive education, the government of India has introduced a program called Samagra Shiksha, which clearly states this Samagra Shiksha is nothing but children with special needs has to have their continuing education from first class to 12th class. The program is called as Samagra Shiksha. It was introduced by MHRD in the budget session 2018 and 19. They have clearly introduced this scheme or a program called Samagra Shiksha, that is equality in education with the help of equity in the education, that is giving equal opportunity for all, even giving equal opportunity to the disabled children also. I already told you there is a school in Secunderabad called as Kotwal School, which is giving equal opportunity. They have introduced inclusive education into their school curriculum. They have introduced inclusive education. There are about 12 students presently. I told you, I spoke to the principal of Kotwal School. I just asked her, she is my cousin, so she just told me there are 12 students presently. They have adopted this inclusive education. There are 12 students who have disabilities, various disabilities. Like even there is a student who have a cerebral palsy, that is they cannot move. They are brought to the classrooms, but they are very active in the classroom. So this is called as inclusive education. You already know what is inclusive education. You already have a subject called as inclusive education. So when you write down anything about inclusive education, you mention this program called as Samagra Shiksha, which is a recent one, which clearly covers that children with special needs are to be given continuous education from 1st to 12th. So under the Samagra Shiksha, there are about the government, the central government is giving 11,000 crores for the benefit and education for these kind of children, whether it is infrastructure facilities or whether the equipments in the classroom. So if children with special needs need some special attention, for example, it may be the infrastructure, it may be the tools they use, it may be the ramp, it may be the classrooms are built in such a way, even they have access. Children with special needs or disabilities can access, they can come to the classroom. So these kind of incentives or innovatives have been given by the central government, but still there are about, you know how many students or how many children are there according to census? There are 21,09,918 students who wanted, still are lacking behind to have education, children with special needs. There are about 21 lakh children who are still wanting to be educated in the society, especially only in the India and especially in the metropolitan cities. There are 21 lakh children who are still waiting for education. Even after government have released incentives about 11,000 crores and especially 300 crores especially for teachers and resource persons who teach this one. So when equality is, when funding is given, I don't know how much it has reached to the children. For every child, they are giving for every child annum, that is 3,000 to 3,500 should be what we say spent on these kind of children. But so the main basic idea of Samagra Shiksha is by 2020 that everyone should have equity and quality education. So this is a centrally sponsored scheme. The only prime object or prime aim of this Samagra Shiksha program is to give equal education to everybody. By 2030, everybody before, that is between the age group of 6 to 14, everybody should be educated. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, the fundamental rights in education. And also I told you about NCERT promoting an inclusive education in the Fundamental Act, which is called as Bark. It is a reading series app which have 40 stories which will be given in both audio and visual. Digital version is given. It is called as Barkha, BARKHA, which is introduced in NCERT. When you go for a website called NCERT or e-Pathashala portal, you find this. So why am I discussing everything, all these? Because when you write an exam, you can mention all these programs, especially with the children with special need. You can just make a note. So many incentives have been given, so many programs, so many policies have been introduced by the central government sponsorship, but even though we are still lacking behind. I told you, even after so many measures have been taken, there are about 21 lakh children who are still not having access to equal education. So this is about the provision of equal opportunity of education with special needs. Now coming to the minority education. Now we are speaking about marginalized groups. Minority education, there are about so many articles especially mentioned for minority education. Article 31 of Indian Constitution clearly states that what all minorities have the right to establish and administer education institution of their own. So all the minorities, according to Article 31 of Indian Constitution, have their right to have their own minority institutions. So there are many minority institutions presently working according, which is given permission by the government itself. Now coming to the second one, Article 29A of Indian Constitution has given concessions to minorities, that is special reservations. Special reservations to minorities in educational institutions, not only in schooling but also engineering colleges, MCET colleges. Not only that, during the counseling also you have special reservations according to Article 29 of Indian Constitution. But remember one thing, I already told you, you should be well versed in all the articles in the Indian Constitution. That is very important. There are about so many articles. When you write an answer with the articles, you will have good marks. You will be fetching. Even if I see a girl or a boy writing answers mentioning the articles, I won't read all the stuff, but only when you mention such kind of articles, I want to give you more marks. So remember to mention the articles, remember to memorize the articles, or else buttify them. It is not my duty to say that, but you buttify. Even when you are in the sleep, when I awake you and ask you about all the rights, you should be able to tell me the articles or the acts. Now, coming to the Article 28 of Indian Constitution, it clearly says that they are liberal to worship and do spiritual activities as per their belief. So, this is another Article 28 of the Constitution, clearly speaks about the minorities. Next one is the Article 358. See, whatever is there in your textbook only, I am telling it now. So, Article 358A clearly says to provide primary education in the mother tongue. This primary education, why? Because when children are admitted in the schools, they have this language barrier problem. Many of the students or many of the children are not accessed to many languages like English, other languages, but at the primary level, if a teacher in a classroom uses bilingual in teaching, then the problem won't arise. So when she tries to teach in English, a few about Hindi and few about Telugu, then the children will be able to understand what the concept you're going to say. It was not possible to use bilingual, like three lingual languages in the classroom, but you can give the gist or the concept of what you have taught in the classroom for 40 minutes. That would be helpful for the children. Okay, when a student of a primary section goes to home, or if a parent asks, what did your teacher tell today in the classroom, they will be able to tell them at least the concept what the teacher spoke. At least they will know, at least the language what you're speaking will not be like a Greek and Latin to the student who does not know English, because there are many children who are not accessed to English now, because most of the time parents in the house or the friends or the society does not have access to the language what we speak in the schools. So that is the reason, according to the Article 350A of Indian Constitution, clearly states that primary education is given in their own mother tongue. So this is all about minority education. When during few of the census in 2009, which was called as for example, there was a census called Sachar Committee report has given that there are, you can see there is a what you call it as, there is a percentage diagram given in your textbook, which clearly says that Muslims have less literacy rate when compared to the others. Why there is less literacies? Many of the Muslim children at the age of very I think so, I don't know the age criteria, but they are sent to their own religious schools, where can anybody tell me at what age, if yes, I have students now. Shahnaz, can you tell me, at what age the children are being admitted into your own religious schools, Shahnaz, you're there in the class? Or Seema can answer me? Shahnaz, tell me, Shahnaz?
Yes,
Shahnaz, can you tell me at what age the children are sent to your religious schools to learn Quran, At what age? You're not aware of that, Shahnaz? Shahnaz, can you hear me, or you have any issues?
Hello, ma'am.
Shahnaz, can you hear me, Girls, can you hear me? Apart from Shahnaz?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Anyone has any
Yes, ma'am.
idea at what age they have been admitted,
I've just googled it. 6 years of age, maybe, ma'am. I've just googled
6 years.
Hello? Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, Shahnaz.
6 to 7, ma'am.
Okay, 6 to 7 years. So when they are 6 years of age, they are admitted not into the general education system, but they are sent to schools. I don't know the name of those schools, but Pabajas, I think. So madrasas or Pabajas, I'm not sure. So they are sent to such schools where only Quran is being taught to them. So that is why there is low literacy rate when compared to the other minorities. So this has been given in your textbook itself. Now coming to ways and means of achieving quality in education. What kind of, for example, what kind of ways and means can be given to achieve equality in education? So, you all would be knowing one of the greatest psychologists called as E.L. Thorndike. One of his statement, he said that to have illiterate people in the democratic country is a crime. So when I read this, it really touched me. Yes, it is taken into consideration as a crime if there are many illiterates that are there in the society, according to E.L. Thorndike. He was a great psychologist. You all would be knowing his name. He once said that, he just quoted this one saying that to have illiterate people in the democratic country is a crime. So, what kind of ways and means we can achieve in taking equality in education? The first one is compensatory education. Now, what is this compensatory education? If you all wish to write down, make a small note of compensatory education, because what is given in your textbook is not that aptful. Make a small note of compensatory education. Write down. If you all are willing to write down, you just make a note. Ma. Compensatory education. So, beside compensatory education, write down. All the children can learn. All the children can learn. The main motto of compensatory education is all the children can learn. Put these quotation in apostrophe. Put these in a apostrophes. All the children can learn. This is the quotation given by compensatory education. The main gist or the main idea. Continue writing. Compensatory education offers supplementary programs or services designed to help children at risk of cognitive impairment. I'll tell you what is cognitive impairment. You just write down the sentence. Children at risk of cognitive impairment and low educational achievement succeeded. Educational achievement succeeded. I'm again repeating the sentence, ma. Compensatory education. The motto of it is all the children can learn. Now continue writing. Compensatory education offers a supplementary program or services designed to help children at risk of cognitive impairment and low educational achievement succeeded. Now can anybody tell me what is cognitive impairment, ma?
Away from the society, ma'am.
Ramni, away from the society. Okay, a point is right, ma. Cognitive impairment. Okay, Ramni said they are away from the society. Anybody else? I want answers from everybody, ma. Bhagyashri, can you tell me what is the term called as cognitive impairment? Bhagyashri, can you hear me?
I think person who is unable to think.
You know what is cognition, Noma? You know what is cognitive because you're already knowing Bloom's taxonomy. Cognitive
Yes,
is
ma'am, related to mind.
anything, not mind, ma, related to your heart.
Understanding.
Anything related, so all the feelings or everything related to heart. That is your thinking, your everything comes from your heart. So, what is cognitive impairment? Yes, Swati. Nitesh, you are telling me something, Nitesh.
Yes, ma'am. Understanding disability. Maybe, ma'am.
Understanding disability. Yes, very good. Understanding disability.
Remembering, ma'am.
Madhvi, tell me, ma'am.
Remembering, ma'am.
Those persons who have problem of remembering, you can say that, okay, ma? Who have problem to remember few things. Yes, Bhavani, tell me, ma.
Making proper decisions through his or her experiences.
Who cannot see? We are speaking about cognitive impairment, ma. That is, impairment is they having some problem in their cognition level. They have some problem with the cognition level. That is, they have less coordination between three H's: head, heart, and hand. So these are called as impurities. Yes, I want hand. Yes, Sangamitra, tell me, ma.
understand. Level of comprehension is also a sort of problem, ma'am.
Yes, the level of comprehension. That is, IQ level is completely different when compared to the others, ma'am.
No proper concentration.
And learning difficulties also will come under this category, ma'am. The learning difficulties.
Yes, learning difficulties will also come under this. Yes. Anyone else? I want more answers.
No proper concentration.
No proper concentration. Very good.
The persons who cannot take the self decisions, ma'am, or
Self decisions. That is what, ma'am, because they won't have any coordination between their head, heart, and hand, ma'am. So they don't have coordination between that. So people who doesn't have coordination with these three, that is, they mind think something, they have inside something, and they cannot do outside. So they don't have coordination between these three H's. So those kind of children are called as cognitive impairment. I hope everybody are there in the group, because when I'm taking some names, people are just leaving the group and going, I think. So Shravani, are you there, ma?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there, ma'am.
Then why are you not talking, Shravani?
I'm giving reply, ma'am.
You're giving reply, or you're busy with some other work, Shravani?
No, ma'am, not busy. I'm listening class.
Okay, you're listening to class. Okay. So, cognitive impairment is when a person has some trouble remembering or learning new things, or he has a problem in concentrating, or he has a problem in making decisions, and also even these cognitive impairment, when it is given, when there was a survey done, ma, what they had observed is children whose parents are divorcee, single child parent, or else if there are n number of disturbances in the family. For example, if a child is of 3 years or 4 years, if both the parents are always quarreling, there is no proper harmony in the house itself, those kind of children are having this cognitive impairment a lot, ma, because they are not in a place, where they cannot decide anything. They cannot say mommy is good or daddy is good. They cannot say what is problem. So these kind of impairities, when there was a survey done, it is clearly shown it is not the disability when they are born. These disability has come after they are born. They are born with hale and healthy, but the circumstances or the environment they are grown up as also having an influence, and that is cognitive impairment. So such kind of children are given a compensatory education. So these kind of institutions are there where they are given compensatory education. So by this we can improve their education system. For example, this compensatory education system, we have to find out those problems and try to give them support, or try to give them need of education system. For example, I told you, children who are having this cognitive impairment are basically, they are not born of this impairity, but the circumstances are making them impaired. So most of them, marginalized group people are affected with this. No proper parents coordination, a single mother or single father parents, and also there will be many of such second mothers or second fathers. So these all come under. So for such kind of people, these compensatory education is one of the mean or a way of achieving equality in education. The second one is universalization of elementary education, that is UEE. Now UEE is also, when I was speaking about National Policy on Education 1986, it has given prominent aspects. For example, much view on universalization of elementary education. So at least this UEE, the prime basic aim or objective is at least the children should be able to understand the alphabets. For example, whether it is in English, whether it is in Telugu, or whether it is in Hindi, they should be able to at least write their names. They should be able to at least read a few of the sentences of the words. So the main basic idea or ideology of this universalization of elementary education is everybody should be educated at least till 5th class. Because most of them, I already told you, in the girl child education, after once they come to maturation stage, after they are matured, many of the parents does not allow their children to go to schools. The only reason would be no sanitization, no bathroom facilities in the school, and also no proper security given into the classrooms as well as in the schools. So no proper sanitization is one of the reason for that. So universalization of elementary education, the main basic reason or the main basic ideology of universalization of elementary education is at least the child has to be given what we say is at least they should be able to understand what is written on the board, or at least they should be able to understand their names, at least they should be able to write down some alphabets. So you can see there are many, for example, there are many factors which is given in your textbook. And the last one is non-formal education. Non-formal education has really a great impact. Non-formal education is especially for the dropout children and especially for the children who could not complete their schooling. So after dropouts, I told you, after elementary education, children try to drop out. It is because there would be many barriers or many reasons for their dropouts, and there are children who doesn't even finish off their 10th class. So at the level of 8th or 9th or 10th class, they don't feel like going to schools, they're dropouts. So drop out at the primary level and drop out at the school level. What is happening is this non-formal kind of education. You all would be knowing Ratri Baduluma. First it was, when I was studying, they were given Ratri Badulu, where children or young women or young men of the society were gathered near a village where a teacher from that locality will go there and teach them in the evenings. Soon after they finish up their household work or agriculture work or whatever sort of work, in the villages it is by 7 or 8 they finish up their dinner. So at 8 o'clock these schools were introduced. So those kind of things are called as non-formal education. And nowadays many of the NGOs are giving this non-formal education. That is, a teacher will be there here in the cities. And then there are some PPT presentations given there to interact with those kind of students. So those kind of called as non-formal education. Only thing is to give part-time coaching at the leisure time and mainstreaming them, especially at the age of 11 and 14 years. So once the child will come to its maturation stage, they will have, a few of them are not interested, but few of them are very interested to be educated. But because of lack of resources available, it may be because of the income status of the parents, or income where they cannot there is no accessibility to schools, where the parents are not sending the children to the school. So non-formal education will help them so much. So non-formal education. So what are the ways and means of achieving equity in education? We spoke, one is compensatory education, that is education for all at all the levels, and universalization of elementary education. And next is non-formal education. This non-formal education is especially for the dropout children and also those who could not complete their school. And the main reason is to give them part-time coaching at their leisure. So when they are interested, they are assembled at one place, and a teacher from here will try to interact them with the help of the technology which is available. So who all are interested, they come and sit at that place. So the head of that village or the town will make the all children to assemble at one place, and non-formal education is being taught nowadays. Is it clear? So non-formal kind of education. Recently we got an ad in the TV also, where I don't know, Mahesh Babu tries to sell his car to help her NGO, to help his NGO sister who is doing this non-formal education. You all would be seeing those ads. Recently it has come where Mahesh Babu tries to sell he's a pilot, he tries to sell his cars to help his NGO sister to give non-formal education to the children who are in villages. He tries to sell his car and buys laptops to all the marginalized group children, that is, who are especially in the village atmosphere. So these kind of education is called as non-formal education. So then, yes ma, Ramani, tell me ma.
Do distance mode educations and these also come under non-formal education?
Yeah, it will come under non-formal education, but thing is, distance learning is totally different from this, Ramani. Open learning schools, open learning school or distance school comes under non-formal education only. Formal education is going to school and studying is formal. So non-formal education also, what you said is right. Distance education or open learning school system, everything comes under non-formal education.
So we, like me, I am not coming to college and reading, so I am doing non-formal education, right?
No. Yours doesn't come under, right? Because in your certificate it does not give that you are in a distance.
No, but it is not giving, but in a way, indirect way, I am doing the same.
In your terms, Ramani, it is right.
Yeah.
So about 100 students, there are about 110 I think. So 100 students in your class, 50% are doing formal education and 50 non-formal in your terms.
Yes ma'am, yes.
Okay ma. So with this we finish up our unit 4.5 ma, equality in education. Please, whenever you write an answer of this, you mention the difference between equality and equity. So why there should be not only equality in education but also equity in education, especially in this marginalized group and gender bias ma. Because in the beginning of the class yesterday itself I told you the difference between equality and equity. Is it clear ma? So as of now,
Yes, ma'am.
as of now, anyone has any doubts, you can ask me ma. And Usha, how are you Usha? Usha is not there. I've seen her. I just admitted her to the class.
No, ma'am, she's not.
She left the class.
Yes.
She left ma. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yesterday she shared her photo with me, ma'am.
Oh, she shared your. Okay.
Yeah, her hand is totally like burnt.
Ma, so sorry for her, ma, really, because at this time, this winter season, it will be very horrible if there are any burns or something like that. I felt very bad because she works as well. She's a teacher and she's doing a BEd now. I feel pity for her. Okay, after the class, I'll try to speak to her. So as of now, anyone has any doubts, ma, you can ask me. Amma, ee roju manamu mukyanga ఉపేక్షిత వర్గాలు, మార్జినలైజ్డ్ గ్రూప్స్ గురించి చదువుకున్నామమ్మా. ఉపేక్షిత వర్గాలు అంటే ఎవరు అనేది మీకు చెప్తున్నాను. ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీస్, తర్వాత మైనారిటీస్ ని, బీసీస్ ని, వీళ్ళందరినీ ఉపేక్షిత వర్గాలుగా పిలువబడతారమ్మా. ఈ ఉపేక్షిత వర్గాల్లోకి గవర్నమెంట్ ఎన్ని హెల్ప్ ఇచ్చినా, ఎంత సహకారం అందించినా ఇంకా లిటరసీ రేట్ వాళ్ళకి పెరగలేదు. ఎందుకంటే మనం మీ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో ఇచ్చిందే నేను చూశాను. ఎస్సీ ఎస్సీ స్టూడెంట్స్ ని చూస్తే ఓవరాల్ గా 21%, 16% మంది ఎడ్యుకేట్ అవుతున్నారు. వేరే వాళ్ళతో కంపేర్ చేసినప్పుడు వేరే వాళ్ళు 45% విద్యలో ఉంటే, లిటరసీ రేట్ ఉంటే, ఎస్సీ ఎస్సీ స్టూడెంట్స్ మాత్రం 20 మంది 16 మంది వరకే ఒక రేషియోలో చూసుకున్నట్టయితే అవుతుంది. అందులో స్త్రీలకు లేదా చిన్న ఆడపిల్ల వారికి విద్య మాత్రం ఇంకా తక్కువగా ఉందమ్మా. ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీ కులాల్లో చూస్తే 10%, 8%. రీజన్ ఏముండొచ్చు అంటే పిల్లలకి 8th క్లాస్, 9th or 10th లేదా పిల్లలు మెచ్యూర్ అయిన వెంటనే పెళ్లిళ్ళు చేసేస్తారు ఆమె ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీ గ్రూప్స్ లలో. ఎందుకంటే వాళ్ళకి త్వరగా పెళ్లిళ్ళు చేసి త్వరగా సెటిల్ చేయడానికి చూస్తూ ఉంటారు. అండ్ వాళ్ళకి లిటరసీ రేట్ అనేది చాలా తక్కువ, వాళ్ళు చదువుకోవడానికి ఇష్టపడరు. సో మనం ఈరోజు క్లాస్ లో ఉపేక్షిత వర్గాలు, మీరు ఓన్ గా ఒకవేళ మీరు మీ క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో ఇలాంటి పిల్లలు ఉంటే ఒక టీచర్ గా నీ బాధ్యత ఏంటి, నువ్వు ఎలాంటి ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎలాంటి ఏమంటారంటే ఎలాంటి ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నిస్తావు అనేది ఈ ఉపేక్షిత వర్గాల గురించి మనం చదువుకున్నామమ్మా. ఉపేక్షిత వర్గాల్లో ఎస్సీ ఎస్టీ గ్రూప్సే కాకుండా ఇంకా మనం చూస్తే మైనారిటీస్ గురించి కూడా ఉంది. మైనారిటీస్ లో అకార్డింగ్ టు ద కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్, ఇండియన్ కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్ లో ఆర్టికల్స్, ఏ ఆర్టికల్స్ లో ఇలాంటి వర్గాల గురించి విద్య అనేది ఎలా ఇచ్చింది అనేది మనం చూసుకున్నాం. అదే కాకుండా వికలాంగులమ్మ, వికలాంగులు అయితే దివ్యాంగులు. ఇప్పుడు వికలాంగులుగా వాళ్ళని పిలువబడట్లేదు, వాళ్ళని దివ్యాంగులుగా పిలుస్తున్నారు. దివ్యాంగులకు ఎలాంటి విద్యా అర్హత ఇవ్వబడింది? ఎన్పి ప్రకారంగా అందరికి 1986లోనే ఈ ఇంక్లూజివ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అనేది ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేయాలనేది గవర్నమెంట్ చేసిందమ్మా. ఏంటంటే ప్రతి ఒక్క ఈ దివ్యాంగులను నార్మల్ పిల్లలతో పాటు కూర్చోబెట్టి నార్మల్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో ఫార్మల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అనేది ఇవ్వబడాలి అనేది గవర్నమెంట్ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేసింది. 2018-19లో సమగ్ర శిక్ష అనే ఒక కొత్త ప్రోగ్రామ్ తోటి పిల్లల్ని, ఈ దివ్యాంగుల పిల్లల్ని ఫస్ట్ క్లాస్ లోనే జాయిన్ చేయించవచ్చు. వాళ్ళు ఇంటర్మీడియట్ చదువుకునే వారికి కూడా వాళ్ళకి ఫండింగ్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఇస్తుందమ్మా. ఇది దివ్యాంగుల యొక్క విద్యకి సంబంధించింది. ఇంకా మనం చదువుకున్నాం ఏంటంటే మైనారిటీ విద్యల గురించి. అదే కాకుండా విద్య సమాన అవకాశాలు, సాధనక మార్గాలు మరియు వ్యూహాలు. అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనం కంపెన్సేటరీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అంటే పరిహార విద్య అందించడం. పరిహార విద్య అందించడం అని అంటే నేను మీకు ఆల్రెడీ చెప్పాను. పరిహార విద్య అంటే ఒక పారాగ్రాఫ్ మీకు ఒక యూనిట్ ఇచ్చానమ్మా. పరిహార విద్య ఏంటంటే ఈ కాగ్నిటివ్ ఇంపైర్మెంట్, ఎవరికైతే నేర్చుకోవడంలో ఇబ్బంది ఉందో, ఎవరికైతే చదవడంలో ఇబ్బంది ఉందో, ఎవరైతే సరిగ్గా ఇంటరాక్ట్ అవ్వలేరో అలాంటి పిల్లల కోసం ఇలాంటి విద్య అనేది ఇవ్వాలంటే ఒక హెల్ప్ అనేది గవర్నమెంట్ ఇవ్వాలి అనేది అందరు కోరుకుంటున్నారు. అంటే కొంతమంది ఆ వయసుకు తగ్గ ఆలోచనలు ఆ పిల్లలకు ఉండవు. వాళ్ళని ఏమంటారంటే పరిహార విద్య, కంపన్సేటరీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అంటే అలాంటి పిల్లలకి ఇలాంటి విద్య అందించాలని. ఇంకోటి విద్య సార్వత్రీకరణలో అపరోధాలు అంటే ఎలిమెంటరీ యూనివర్సలైజేషన్. అమ్మ చెప్పమ్మా కృష్ణవేణి.
మేడం, ఇప్పుడు పరిహార విద్య అని అంటే రెగ్యులర్ గా నార్మల్ పిల్లలతో కలిసి ఇవ్వడమా, లేదంటే వీళ్ళని సపరేట్ గా చెప్పడమా మేడం?
అంటే గవర్నమెంట్ కి ఒక అపీల్ అనమాట. ఏమంటున్నారంటే అట్లా కూడా చేయొచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు ఇలాంటి పిల్లలని ప్రత్యేక స్థానం, ఇప్పుడు ఈక్వాలిటీలో ఈక్విటీ అంటే ఎక్కువగా కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్. మీకు ఒకటి చెప్పాలంటే అమ్మా, ఇప్పుడు జనరల్ క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో కూడా ఇలాంటి పిల్లలు ఉంటారమ్మా కదా కృష్ణవేణి. ఇప్పుడు ఒకవేళ 40 మెంబర్స్ స్టూడెంట్స్ ఉంటే 10 మందికి ఇలాంటి లోపం ఉంటుంది ఖచ్చితంగా. వాళ్ళకి అర్థం కాదు, టీచర్ ఏం చెప్తుంది అర్థం. ఎందుకు అర్థం కాదంటే వాళ్ళ ఇంట్లో కానీ లేదా బయట కానీ వాళ్ళకి ఏమైనా ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఉన్నా, ఇంట్లో సరి అయిన పెంపకం లేకపోయినా వాళ్ళు క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో కూర్చొని వాళ్ళు నువ్వు చెప్పేది వినరు. వాళ్ళ ఆలోచన అంతా ఎక్కడో ఉంటది. సో ఇలాంటి పిల్లలకి వాళ్ళని మనం ఐడెంటిఫై చేయాలన్నమాట. ఇలాంటి పిల్లల్ని ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి అట్లాంటి పిల్లలకి ఏంటి బై ది ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ది డే అందరికి విద్య అందాలి. వాడు క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో కూర్చొని కానీ వాడు ఫెయిలియర్ గా మిగిలిపోతాడు. 40 మంది పిల్లలతో వాడు వింటున్నట్టు యాక్ట్ చేస్తాడు, కానీ వాడి బ్రెయిన్ కానీ వాడి మైండ్ కానీ విన్నట్టు ఉండదు. వాడి బ్రెయిన్ ఎక్కడో తిరుగుతూ ఉంటది. సో ఇలాంటి పిల్లలకు ఆల్రెడీ క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో ఉంటారు, కానీ అలాంటి వాళ్ళ పిల్లల్ని ఐడెంటిఫై చేయగలగాలన్నమాట. మనం చేసి అలాంటి పిల్లలకి మనము సరైన చేయూతనిస్తే అదే ఈక్విటీ అంటే కదమ్మా. క్లాస్ లో అందరికీ చెప్తున్నావు కరెక్టే, అది ఈక్వాలిటీ. కానీ ఎవరి పిల్లలకైతే నిజంగా అవసరం ఉందో వాళ్ళకి ఇచ్చే విద్యని ఈక్విటీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ అంటారు. అంటే వాళ్ళకి కొంచెం చేయూతనివ్వడం అన్నమాట. సో ఇలాంటి పిల్లలు బయట ఉండొచ్చు, మీ క్లాస్ రూమ్ లో ఉండొచ్చు, మీ సరౌండింగ్ లో ఉండొచ్చు, ఎక్కడైనా ఉండొచ్చు అమ్మ ఇలాంటి పిల్లలు. అమ్మా ఎస్ శ్రీవాణి చెప్పమ్మా.
మీరు ఎక్స్ట్రా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇస్తున్నారు కదా మ్యామ్, అది మేము తెలుగులో సరిపోతుందా మాకు టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లోది ఇప్పుడు ఎవ్రీ ఆన్సర్ కి, లేకపోతే ఇది కూడా రాయాలా మ్యామ్?
అమ్మా శ్రీవాణి నేను క్లాస్ స్టార్టింగ్ లో NP 1986 కొన్ని ఇచ్చాను కదమ్మా, అవి మీ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో లేవు. సో దాన్ని ఒకవేళ మీరు తెలుగులోకి తర్జుమా చేసి రాసుకోగలిగితే రాయండి, లేదా ఇంగ్లీష్ లో రాయగలిగితే రాయండి అమ్మా.
ఓకే మ్యామ్.
ఇంగ్లీష్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ కి తెలుగు టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ కి కంపేర్ చేస్తే మీ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో మంచి ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఇచ్చాడు. అంటే ఉన్నది ఉన్నట్టుగా కొన్ని ఇచ్చాడు. ఇంగ్లీష్ లో ఏంటంటే ఏదేదో పిచ్చి పిచ్చి కూడా రాస్తాడు.
ఓకే మ్యామ్.
ఓకేమా, నేను ఇచ్చిన ఎక్స్ట్రా ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ని ఇంగ్లీష్ లో రాసుకొని దాన్ని తెలుగులో తర్జుమా చేసుకోవడానికి ట్రై చేయండి అమ్మా.
ఓకే మ్యామ్, చేసుకుంటాం.
అట్లా అవుతే మీకు ఈజీగా. ఓకే అమ్మా.
ఓకే మ్యామ్.
సో పరిహార విద్య అంటే అది ఆ లెర్నింగ్ డిసేబిలిటీస్ అనేది ఎవరికైతే ఉంటుందో వాళ్ళని ఎలాంటి విద్యలకు ఎలాంటి పిల్లలకు అలాంటి ప్రభావం వస్తుంది అనేది కూడా మీ దాంట్లో చక్కగా ఇచ్చాడమ్మా. పేదరికము, బాల కార్మికులు, పరిసర సంస్కృతి, సామాజిక విచక్షణ, గృహంలో మాట్లాడే భాషలోని దోషాలంటే కొన్నిసార్లు భార్య భర్తలు కొట్లాడుకుంటే మంచి మంచి ఇంగ్లీష్ వర్డ్స్ యూజ్ చేస్తారు కదమ్మా పిల్లలు నేర్చుకోవడానికి. సో అట్లా ఎఫెక్ట్ ఉన్న పిల్లలు కూడా అన్నమాట అమ్మ. పరిహార విద్య అలాంటి పిల్లలకు అవసరం. ఈజ్ ఇట్ క్లియర్ అమ్మా? సో అది పరిహార విద్య. తర్వాత యూనివర్సలైజేషన్ ఆఫ్ ఎలిమెంటరీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్, ఎలిమెంటరీ విద్య సార్వత్రీకరణ. ఎందుకు విద్య అట్లీస్ట్ ఎలిమెంటరీ లెవెల్లో ఉన్న పిల్లలకి ఇవ్వబడాలి అనేది మీ దాంట్లో పాయింట్స్ వైజ్ గా చక్కగా ఇచ్చాడమ్మా. తర్వాత అనియుత విద్య కార్యక్రమం అంటే నాన్ ఫార్మల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఎలాంటి పిల్లలకంటే ముఖ్యంగా స్కూల్స్ ఎలిమెంటరీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ తర్వాత వదిలేసిన పిల్లలు, లేదా 10th క్లాస్ వరకు చదువుకొని వదిలేసిన పిల్లలు, 10th ఎగ్జామ్ రాయకుండా మినిమం క్వాలిఫికేషన్ లేకుండా అలాంటి పిల్లలకు నాన్ ఫార్మల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్, అట్లాంటి పిల్లల్ని ఐడెంటిఫై చేసి సాయంకాలం రాత్రి బడులు అనేది ఫస్ట్ లో వచ్చేదం. అలాంటి పిల్లల్ని కూర్చోబెట్టి రాత్రి వాళ్ళకు విద్య అందించడం, ప్రైమ్ రీజన్ విద్యను అందించడం. సో ఇలాంటి చేయడం మూలాన మన ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ లో కొన్ని మార్పులు చేయవచ్చు. అంటే ప్రత్యేకంగా ఇలాంటి వారి కోసం, ప్రత్యేకంగా జెండర్ అంటే ప్రత్యేకంగా లింగ భేదం ఉన్న వారి కోసం, దివ్యాంగుల కోసం, మైనారిటీల కోసం ఇలాంటి విద్య ఇవ్వడం ద్వారా మనం ఇంకా లిటరసీ రేట్ ని పెంచవచ్చు అనేది గవర్నమెంట్ చెప్తున్న ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ అమ్మా. ఇంకోటి సర్వశిక్ష అభియాన్ గురించి కూడా ఇవ్వబడింది మీ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో. దెర్ ఇస్ ఆల్సో సర్వశిక్ష అభియాన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ గివెన్ ఇన్ యువర్ టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ మా, which is an act of 2009 which has come into education system in 2009 under the Right to Education Act, which is called as SSA, Sarvasiksha Abhiyan. So these all programs have paid up and also have encouraged the society and encouraged the teachers as well as the government officials to look into, especially for the quality education for these kind of groups. So many of the time there will be an application question ma, if you are a teacher and you come across these kind of disparities in your classroom, what sort of measures will you take and what sort of provisions the government has given, you are supposed to mention them. Is it clear ma? So with this we finish up our 4th unit. On Monday we will start with unit 5, that is quality in education. Is it clear to everyone ma? Anyone has any doubts?
Ma'am, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan both one and the same, ma'am?
No. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is for everybody ma, irrespective of
that is for elementary education. Education for all is SSA.
SSA is the prime motto of SSA is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is for everybody. That is, they have equal right to be educated under the age of 14 years.
Education for all.
Yes, that is education for all.
And the Samagra Shiksha, ma'am? Hello?
Ma'am has left from meet.
She will join again.
Can you hear
What
me?
is it? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sangamitra, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
Sangamitra, can you hear me ma?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Yeah. So Samagra Shiksha is especially for the children with special needs ma. So they should be given equal opportunity like everybody. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is for everybody.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, there is lot of difference between Samagra Shiksha and Sarva Shiksha ma.
Okay, ma'am.
This was implemented in 2018 and 19 mas. It is sponsored by central government as Samagra Shiksha, and Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan came into effect in 2009.
Okay, ma'am.
On all the government schools you find that symbol a pencil, on a pencil few of the girl and boy will be sitting. It is a motto of Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. All the government schools will have that. Samagra Shiksha is especially for the inclusion of education, that is specially for children with special needs and disabled children.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am?
Ma'am, here 18 and 19, ma'am.
18 and 19 ma ఒకసారి చూడు రమణి అది ఉంది it is 18 and 19 in one of the budget session it was declared ma samagra shiksha you can just go through.
So actually the Shiksha Abhiyan like for inclusive also we have read, ma'am. Like
Yes,
we
for
were
inclusive.
present in
Yes,
seminar.
it is for everybody. My SSA is for everybody. The special status is between the age group of 6 to 14. Everybody should be educated. The prime aim of SSA is.
Okay, ma'am.
And this Samagra Shiksha is from LKG to 12th class. Children with special needs have equal opportunity to study in a formal education system under the same roof with a normal child.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Any other doubts? So I'm going to disconnect the call. Anybody has any doubts? With this, we finish off our 4th unit. Next, we'll go for 5th unit on Monday.
Okay, ma'am.
Is it? Okay, ma'am. Okay. Sangamitra, please share your
Yes,
notes or any information to Shraddha, ma, because she has been texting me every day due to some
Yes,
circumstances.
ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. I will share to her.
Okay, ma. Okay. Thank you, ma.
Okay.
Thank you. And Nitesh, don't forget to send. Okay, Ramani. Thank you. Nitesh, don't forget to send me the number of Usha, Nitesh.
Okay, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, Nitesh. Okay. Thank you, ma. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.